In this very back garden, a young George would have practiced footballing skills. He would have done keepy-uppies in this garden before he went over to Manchester. Hi, I'm Peter. This is George's Best Childhood Home. It's now available as a short-term holiday let, and we also do tours here. It's owned by a local charity, the Eastside Partnership. So I want to show you around today. Come on in. So we're going now into the living room. And this house has been retro refurbed back to 1961, the year when George first went over to Manchester in search of fame and fortune. So you can see in the corner here a little TV from that era. And then on the mantelpiece here, there's a clock, and it stopped at 3:04 for the Manchester United fans watching. You'll realise at the time of the Munich air crash, and there's a clock stuck at that time over at Old Trafford. Below the clock then, there's a little replica of George's signature. And then over here on the table, we have copies of George's school reports when he went to school here in East Belfast. He's a very clever pupil. And then we also, when he first went over to Manchester, he stayed with Mrs. Fullaway, that was his landlady. So this is her address in each of those letters. And he signs all the letters, your loving son George, with lots of X's. So George's funeral service in 2005 started from this very house, from this very room in fact. The cortege then went up to our Parliament buildings at Stormont before he was led to rest in Roselawn Cemetery. So we'll go now into the kitchen. This is the kitchen, again like the rest of the house, decorated in the early 1960s style. So we have the Belfast sink, popular in houses from that era. And also if you look here, the kettle and the toaster, again from the 1960s style. And then if you look in the corner here, you'll see our fridge freezer. It is from 1960s style. So we'll go into this covered alleyway. So it's a brief history of the life and career of George Best. Born in Belfast in 1946, moved into this house January 1948. And this is a famous quote, I think I found you a genius. And then in 2005, he passed away and he's buried in Roselawn Cemetery. His mother's buried there, and then 3 years after George's death, then his father died. In this very back garden, a young George would have practiced footballing skills. He would have done keepy-uppies in this garden before he went over to Manchester. So this is a unique place at 16 Burn Way in East Belfast. So now we'll go upstairs. So this is the earliest photograph of George. He was about 16 months when that photograph was taken, and a lot of children aren't even walking at that stage, but George, as you can see, had a football at his feet, and he's showing good balance and watching the ball. So as we go up the stairs, the photographs are on the right are all of George when he played for his country, Northern Ireland. This is the famous incident where he kicked the ball out of Gordon Banks' hands. The referee hadn't seen that before, and he disallowed the goal. So one of the things about this house, it has an inside toilet. That was considered luxury when the Bests moved into this house in 1948. Don't adjust your sets when we go into this first bedroom. So this would have been where George's twin sisters would have slept. Julie and Grace would have slept in this room, and then we'll go into parents' bedroom. So as we come in through the door, this is a photograph of George's parents on their wedding day. This is where George got his good looks from, was from the mother. You can see she had the dimple in the chin like George, and also the dark hair colouring. And George also got his sporting ability from his mum. She was a very good hockey player. So this is George's mum, known as Annie, in a hockey outfit. So now we'll go into the room that everybody wants to sleep in, George's room. Follow me again, please. This is George's room. He would have slept in this very room from 1948 until 1961. So in the corner then we have a retro kit of the football team that George supported as a boy. He was a Wolves fan. That was because the first match he watched featured Wolves versus a Hungarian side, Honvéd. On the bedside cabinet then we have a radio like George would have listened to football results on in this very room. And then also in the bedside cabinet then we have a Tiger annual from 1959, again from the time when George would have been reading about Royal Rovers, etc. in this very room. So if you look out the back window then as we finish, you can see it's quite a big back garden. So a young George would have learned to play football in that very back garden. And if you look in the distance as well, you can see the floodlights of Ravenhill, now called the Kingspan Stadium, where Ulster play their matches. That's another place where George, as a child, would have jumped over the fence and had a kick around of the football on the rugby pitch before he was chased by the groundsman. Good luck trying to catch George Best. So I hope you enjoyed this whistle-stop tour of George Best's childhood home. It is now available as a short-term holiday let, and if you want further information on this unique place, the place to look for that is georgebesthouse.com.